הקדוש, בוקר אור, שבוע טוב, מסכת נדרים, דף נ"ד עמוד א', 54a1. Says the Mishnah, we're starting a new chapter, פרק שביעי, okay, chapter 7. הנודר מן הירק. So if somebody makes a neder on himself for a yerek, for a vegetable, mutar b'trin. So he says he's not going to be permitted, right? Only because basically a dlat, right, is not a yerek. It's a pri, it's a fruit. So therefore he's going to be mutar in a dlat. Okay, that's what it says over here. The Ran. Here he wants to say that within the perot adama, there's two different types. There's zra'im and yirakot. So here he says this is a peri. It's not a yerek. Okay, so that's what it is. But Rabbi Akiva says no, it's considered a yerek. So Amrulo Rabbi Akiva, they told Rabbi Akiva, "Valo men adam shlucho kach li yerek," right? Vehu omer lo matzati yed leduin. 1 second. If you come and you send your messenger and you tell him go buy me vegetables, and he comes back and he's going to tell you, but I only found a dlat, right? So therefore, it's not the same thing. Amar lahem ken hadavar, yes. O shema omeru, or maybe he's not only going to say lo matzali kitnit. I only found the kitnit, right? Which is not, he's not going to say, what's the difference? Ela dluin lichlal yerek. Dla'at is a yerek. How does it translate the dla'at? The pumpkin or the courgette or the squash? How does it, there in English? Gourd. Gourd, it's type of squash, right? The kitnit, eno bichlal yerek. But kitnit is not considered part of yerek. Yeah. It says "Be'asur bepula mitzri lach umutar biyavesh." You see, it's a Mishnah mefureshet. You're not allowed to have the pula mitzri, which is like this Egyptian bean, when it's moist. But if it's dry, you're allowed to. You see, dry beans, you're allowed to, no problem. Fine. Says the Gemara. Yeah, anoder mina yerek. If somebody comes and he makes a neder against vegetables, so if you remember, we said he's going to be permitted in dluin, and Rabbi Akiva says it's tzur. Right? V'hamin yerek nadar. He says 1 second, but he prohibited himself yerek. Now, why is it that Rabbi Akiva is going to say that a dlat is a pri, or is it yerek? Is it going to be a vegetable, or is it going to be a yerek? So Amar Ula comes and he says, yeah. So Amar Ula says, Beomer yarke kedera alai. Says no, yerek of a kedera. So therefore, the fact that he's adding on yarke kedera, so the yerek of the luin is considered part of it as well. Okay? Fine. So says the Gemara, "V'dilma yerek hanechal b'kedera kaman." Says no, but maybe it's only coming to include a fruit you actually eat, like a perot adama, like vegetables that you eat in a plate, and not that you eat it by itself. So says the Gemara, "Beomer yerek hamitbashel b'kedera alai." He says a yerek that you cook in a pot. That's what's going to be on him. So that's why he came and he said the entire concept of the yerek or not. So Micah Mipelge, what is the machloka between them? Rabbanan sabre, Rabbanan hold kol minta de tzarich shlicha le'emluchela. Anything that you need a shliach to come into when you're going to, he's going to come and ask you again. Lav minehu. It's not meaning like this. I'm going to send my shaliach. So I send Mordechai to the shuk. I tell him go buy me something. If he has to come back to me and ask me permission, they don't have this. They have this. It's like substitutions. Nowadays. You buy something in Walmart or you buy something in Costco with Instacart, and there's something which is called an institution, a substitution. What is substitution? Let's say they didn't have one thing, so give me some. So I remember they were terrible. I remember we asked for strawberries, and they got me once blueberries. And when I called up, I said, "Listen, is that a good substitution?" I'm saying just because it's called berries, that's called, like Iowa. They could say it's like. She goes, no, you're right. I'm sorry, sir. We're going to give you a refund. You understand that? Meaning, they have to ask you for certain things. If it's going to be the exact same thing, and maybe let's say it's a bigger size, smaller size, but basically it's the same thing. So you don't have to ask. You get it. Come on, you finish, right? Or if it's almost the same type of a thing. But if it's going to be completely different, so if you need the shliach to come back and to ask you about it, it's not the same species. That's what he's trying to say, right? It's not the same species. Right? Rabbi Akiva holds, kol milta. The mimlich shlicha ala minehu. Anything that the shliach has to ask, it's still considered the same min, right? And therefore, the dluin, since the shliach has to ask, it's the type of a yerek. So therefore, according to Rabbi Akiva, he says if you're going to be noder min yerek, it's also going to be a sur from the dluin. Because basically, the machloket is: do you hold that if you have to ask, it's still considered a min or not? So ever since right now, the shliach would have to ask you, right, should I bring Dluim? So according to Chachamim, it's not considered the same species. So therefore, you're allowed to have it. But according to the Rabbi Akiva, it is. So Amar Abaye comes and he says, Modeh Rabbi Akiva linyan malkot. Rabbi Akiva admits to do with malkot she'eno lokeh. He doesn't get malkut. Meaning, what happens if a person comes and he made a neder? I'm not going to eat yerakot. Asur. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he goes against a neder. And he takes a dlat, right? He takes a squash or whatever it is, the gourd, and eats it. He doesn't get lashes. He wasn't over. Why? Because it's not mamash part of the neder. It's only like an extra part of the neder. So therefore, it's not asur bevadai. It's like misafek kaze. It's like a doubt, right? Because he didn't say mefurash. He didn't prohibit himself the dlaim. He went and he said a yerek. So now I have a doubt: is the dlat part of yerek or not? So I'm going to say it says Rabbi Akiva yes. It says Rabbi Akiva, but even if I said that it's part of the yerakot,
so we need to
it's not vadai.
The specific name.
Either the specific name or it has to be a vegetable according to everybody. Right? A cucumber is a vegetable according to everybody. So therefore, that's what we're saying. That's what he's saying. A dlat could be no. That's what he's saying. Yes. Yeah. Sanan hatam. So now it says Sanan hatam. We learned over there in the Mishnah. Hashaliach she'asa shlichuto. Right? If right now, we're talking about a balabait, that he was shagag and he sent a shliach for something of ekdesh to take it out b'torat chulin. The shliach, yeah, you're listening. The shaliach she'asa shlichuto, the balabait shemal. Lo asa shlichuto, the shliach mal. So basically like this, one more time. The balabait comes and he made a mistake and he gives to the shaliach something of ekdesh and he tells him, go use it. So now, technically speaking, the balabait was the one that made a mistake. So if the shaliach does the shlichut, so who's the one that did me'ilah? Me'ilah means when you benefit from ekdesh. The balabait. What happens if the shliach did not do his job? So then it was the shliach that did the ma'al, the me'ilah. So Mantana, who's the one that holds this? Amar Rav Chasta says Rav Chasta, matnitin delok Rabbi Akiva. Our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva. The time we learned in the Mishnah. Keitzad, what is the case? Amar lo ten basal orchim. Imagine right now he comes and tells them, give meat to the orchim, and it was really what? It was ekdesh. Then Atalam kaved, and he gave them kaved. He gave them liver, or 10 kaved, give them liver, and he gave them basar. Hashliach man, the shliach that gets the milah. Ve'i Rabbi Akiva. Now if you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Akiva, Hamar Rabbi Akiva says, "Kol min tadimim lichale shliach." Anything with the shliach, we'll have to ask it, right? Kol davar shliach nimlach alav, it's considered mino, right? So therefore, since the shliach that you send him to buy meat, if he doesn't buy meat, right, he'll come and he'll ask you, should I buy kaved? Right? So therefore, it's considered the same thing. Right? Everyone understood the machloka between them. The machloka between them was, according to Shitat Chachamim, the fact that I have to come back and ask you, should I buy this? Meaning, I didn't find a vegetable. I found gourd. The fact that I had to come back and tell you that means it's not a vegetable. Because I didn't tell you, give me a cucumber. I told you, give me vegetables. You came back, there's no vegetable, there's the gourd. You want it, yes or no? That's a proof that it's not considered a vegetable. But according to Rabbi Akiva, the fact that I would come back and ask you, there's no this, but there is this, that shows that it's still a type of a vegetable. There's something, but I'm asking you, there's no this, but can I get you this? Right? Because if not, then I wouldn't even come back to ask you about it. I wouldn't come back and ask you, if you ask me for vegetables, do you want a watermelon? Saying, I asked you for a vegetable, not a watermelon. Right? That means there's no safek, Michal. There's no doubt in it. The fact that I came baw to ask you, there is something there. So according to Rabbi Akiva, basar and kaved is the same thing. Meaning liver and meat, right? Silam and shos. It's not bidyuk to the value, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's something similar that you could come and you could still ask about it. So says the Gemara, limol balabait velo limol shaliach. So then it should be milah on the balabait, not the shaliach. Why did we just say in the previous part that if the balabait, if the shliach did a shlichut, so it's considered what? It's considered milah mitzad the balabait. But if he did not do a shlichut, so then it's milah mitzad the shaliach. It's not true. According to Rabbi Akiva, basar and kaved is b'diuk oto davar. It's the same thing, which means that there should be a problem of meila. So Rabbi comes and says, no, afilu tema Rabbi Akiva. You could even say it's Rabbi Akiva. Nundala demubet 54b. Why? Milo moder Rabbi Akiva de tzarich imruche. Doesn't Rabbi Akiva say that he still has to ask? Meaning the fact that he still has to come and he has to ask. So therefore, he's not doing anymore the shlichut, right, of him own. He's doing the shlichut of the balabait. So therefore, if he didn't, so he's doing it on his own shlichut. So that's why. Meaning, when are we coming and saying that according to Rabbi Akiva, it's still considered the same entity? but you have to come back and ask. So the fact that you came back and asked, if you did come back and ask, so then you're sheikh the balabait. If you did not come back and ask, then you're on your own shlichut. So if even according to Rabbi Akiva, it's the same halacha. So don't start telling me this is not like Rabbi Akiva or not. Okay, until here we're clear. That's the Gemara. Itmar, it was stated. Shemata itmar shemata kamed Rava. So this Braita was said in front of Rava. How Abaye came and he answered up according to Rabbi Akiva. Amar lehon, he went and he told them, Shapir Amar Nachmeni. Abaye said something very good. Remember that Abaye was called Nachmeni, right? So therefore he comes and he says, right, because he was a Yatom Me'abba Ve'em, right? So, okay, fine. So he says, he grew up in the house of, his uncle, Rabbi Bar Nachmeni. So that's why he was also called Nachmeni. Fine. So man Tana the Palag of Rabbi Akiva. Who's the Tana that argues on Rabbi Akiva? Remember, we had in the Mishnah, we had Chachamim, which was like the Tana Kama. Then we had Rabbi Akiva. Who is the Chachamim? Who is the author that argues on Rabbi Akiva? So answers the Gemara. Rashbag, Rabban Shimon Gamliel. The Tanya was going to the Braita. Hanoder min basar. If somebody makes a neder on basar, asur bechol min basar. He's prohibited in all types of basar. Asur barosh uvraglaim uvakane uvakaved uvalev. And he's going to be prohibited, whether it's going to be in the head, in the legs, in the kaneh, the kaved. We're talking about whether it's going to be all these other parts of the, whether it's going to be the heart, the liver, the trachea. I think they say in English, no? The kaneh, a trachea, right? Beofot, right? Now the same thing is going to be a sur and ofot, right? Why? Because at the end of the day, right? Ofot is also part of basar, meaning chicken is meat. Yeah, umutar bebasar dagim v'chagavim, right? And it's going to be permitted in basar dagim v'chagavim, right? Why? Because fish is not considered meat, meaning chicken is still meat. Right, you see that. How many times they say you're going to have a meaty meal, all of a sudden you come and they give you chicken.
Chicken is not just milashon chachamim, no?
But it doesn't matter, but it's still meat. Right, that's what we're saying over here. This is considered meat. Rashbag says, Hanoder min basar asu b'chol min basar mutar b'rosh v'gam kanem v'kavev lev v'afot. So according to Rashbag, he says it's permitted. The answer so for sure not. So you see from here that it's actually going to be a machloket between Rashbag, right, and the Tanakama. According to Rashbag, he says, right, that what? That if you say against basar, I'm sorry, all these things is not considered basar. Even liver is not basar. Even the heart is not basar. Or foot is not basar. Yeah, it's not considered basar. It's not basar. That's what he's saying. And for sure that basar dagim v'chagavim is not considered basar, even though you call basar dagim, but it's not really basar. Yeah? It was in the Bach, right? That we're almost done, yeah? It was a very famous story with the Taz and the Bach, that the Taz was maintained by his father-in-law, the Bach. And what happened was the Bach, he lost a lot of money, and he started giving, I think it was kurkevanim, I think it was. He started giving kayos. I don't remember how they said it in English. Kurkevanim. He started giving them like another type of part of the animal. And what happened is the Taz took him to Bedin. And everyone was like shocked. The Taz is taking his father-in-law to Bedin, like, what's going on? So since he wasn't learning as good because he was not having the meat, so therefore there was a kitrug in the Shemaim against the Bach. So he went to the Bedin, and the Bedin paskin that it's still considered meat, that it's fine, and therefore once the Bedin paskin that it's still considered meat, so therefore now there was no ta'ana against the Bach, because now he was still giving his son-in-law meat. And I said, people thought, what? He's taking his father-in-law to Bedin. Miskin, the father-in-law, he just lost money. All of a sudden, now, you're going to start taking him to Bedin. Like, well, what type of son-in-law is it? Like, what's going on? But it was purposely done. It sounds like something incredible. But anyway, fine, let's continue. Also, Rashbag was saying, Kerevaim. Kerevaim is the intestines. Lav basar, it's not considered basar. V'ochlehem lav ben enosh. But if you eat it, you're not a human being. Right? What does that mean? Ochlehen kebasar. Right? Anybody that eats it like basar, minyan zvine, to do with purchasing it. You could buy it, right? For the same amount of money, but lav barinash, it's not a human being. Ma'ishna basar off letanakama dasir. Right? Why is it that chicken, according to Tanakama, it's going to be asur? Somebody would come back and tell you. Basar dagim nami avid shlicha, right? Also basar dagim is the same thing. If you don't find meat, you're going to come back. You're going to ask, do you want fish? It should be also prohibited. Meaning, what's the difference between chicken, right, and meat? How many times does it happen that somebody comes and tells you, we're going to have meat. You come, there's chicken, you're like, why? You cheated me out. Well, why did I cheat you out? Chicken is meat. Yeah, no, but you want meat. You want a good piece of meat. You want a steak. You don't want you understand? You don't want a piece of chicken. You understand? There's a big difference, right? But here he's saying the same thing. When people come back, they would come back to you, say, you want me to get you chicken? There's no meat. You want chicken? Or they would say, they would come back. Listen, there's no meat or chicken. You want fish? But you would come back for that also as well. So Amar Abaye comes and he says, Kesheikis dam de la achid dagim. What happened was right before you made this neder, you did a kazat dam, you bloodlet, you took out blood. And therefore, even without the neder, you're not going to have fish, because after taking out blood, it's not good to have fish. Don't ask me why. This is the refuah that the Gemara is giving you. Here it says you have to eat something which is going to be very, very good for you, healthy for you. So he says, so therefore you shouldn't come. So he says, achilat dagim is actually bad for you on that day. But you should have meat. Like you should have meat. So he says, so if so, you're not supposed to have chicken either. Meaning, if it's going to be that you bloodlet, so you shouldn't have chicken either. You should only have meat. So the Shmuel says, the mesochar ve'achil bisra de tzipara, a person that's going to be makiz dam, right, from the ktefain, from the shoulders, ve'ochel basar shel tzipur parach libe betzkitipara. So his heart is going to be very, very, like weak. Okay? So it says, V'tanya, we learned in the Braita, en mekizin lo dagim ve'lo al ofot ve'lo al basar maliach. You're not supposed to come, if you just took out blood, you shouldn't have chicken, or you shouldn't have fish, or you shouldn't have basar maluach, salted meat. V'tanya, we learned in the Braita, ikiz dam lo yochal lo chalav lo gevina mebetzim, you shouldn't have not milk, not cheese, not eggs, lo shachlaim, not cress, I think it is, no? Shachlaim? Cress. Velo fort, and not birds, right? Velo basar maliach, and not, right? Not basar maliach, salted meat. So you see from here, you're not supposed to have all these things when you have, when you take out blood. So answers the Gemara, Shane ofot defshal lidei shlika. No, you could do ofot al lidei shlika. What does it mean, shlika? How does it translate it by you? Yes. Boiling. So here, boiling, but excessive boiling, correct? Yes. Mordechai is checking, excessive boiling. So you remember shaluk, we said that usually shaluk always means excessive boiling. But in the past few Gemarot, we kept on seeing that Mordechai kept on saying that it was written that it was like very small amount. Right? Fine. Yeah, so you see here, we're always thinking. Abaye Amar. Abaye comes and he says, Kegon de kaivin le'eneh. Right? That his eyes were hurting him. The dagim kashin la'enayim. Because fish is not good for the eyes. Interesting. You knew that, doctor?
No. Fish, usually we said that brings phosphor and it's good for to remind things.
Remembering, but here it's for the eyes. I don't know. It's interesting to check it up. So then 1 second. Exactly. He says, Adraba, a person that he should eat fish, but Shmuel says, Nun samech ayin. What is it? What is the order of the alphabet? Mem, nun, samech ayin. What is nun? Nuna, sama la'enayim. Nun is a fish, right? You should be nun. Or if you take in Parashat Bereshit, when you talk about the dagim, nun in Aramaic. Not only that, in Parashat Be'alotecha, right? In Bamidbar, are you guys listening? In Bamidbar, you know what Bamidbar is, yeah? Okay. Yeah, one of the 5 books of Moses, yeah? So, right? So, one of the, right? Right? He comes and he says, right? He comes and he says, if you actually take Im Ba'alotecha, what does it have? The backwards nuns. What do they say that's compared to? To the fish. Because the nun is a fish. So he says, nun, samech ayin. What does that mean? Sama is a good remedy for the eyes. So the exact opposite. Dag is good for the eyes. So how do you tell me that it's going to be bad for the eyes? So says the Gemara, sof ochla. He says, that what Shmuel says that it's going to be dagim, is going to be a refuah for the eyes, is talking about besof choli aynaim. But b'tchilat choli, it's actually bad. Meaning, if it's going to be the beginning of an illness of the eyes, it's not good fish. But if a person already is at the end of the illness, meaning that he's already got it, right? And it's so then it's actually good, the fish. Fish is actually going to be good for the person. We continue with Hashem tomorrow from the Mishnah.